Tonight, a fatal crash on the Eyre Peninsula. Investigators flying in from Adelaide to determine the cause. And the Shadow Tourism Minister visits the Spencer Golf.
From our 7 Spencer Golf studios, your nightly news with Louise Hubar begins now.
Good evening. A 60-year-old man from Smoky Bay has died following a crash on the Birdseye Highway near Cleve this morning. The passenger of the van and the driver of the other vehicle involved were taken to hospital with minor injuries. Nathan Rector has the story.
The crash occurred just behind me here on the Birdseye Highway at Whyalla just before 9:30 this morning. Passers-by contacted emergency services who arrived to find the crumpled and tragic mess. A 60-year-old man from Smoky Bay, the driver of the van, sadly died at the scene. His passenger and the driver of the other vehicle, a utility, were taken to hospital with minor injuries. Major crash investigators flew here from Adelaide to try and piece together what happened. They've spent the afternoon examining the scene and the circumstances leading up to the crash. The road here has been closed since early this morning, with traffic being diverted. The man's death brings South Australia's road toll this year to 51. Anyone who may have witnessed the crash or has information is urged to contact police.
As coronavirus case numbers worsen in Victoria, from midnight tomorrow, only South Australian residents coming from Victoria can re-enter the state. The state's Transition Committee making the unprecedented decision to enforce a ban on Victorians visiting unless they're an essential traveller. Even then, they will have to quarantine while they're off duty. Meanwhile, for New South Wales residents, there is still a 14-day quarantine period, with July 20 remaining the key date for those residents to enter South Australia. Border communities such as Broken Hill must have essential reasons to cross the border into South Australia.
We're looking at cross-border communities in terms of how far they can come into South Australia. We certainly acknowledge that this has a significant impact on some communities, more than others in some respects.
It's a tough time for everyone, and I think for all of us, if there's any early announcements, we'd be pleased, but at this stage, I think we'll be actually having to hold out to the 20th of July.
Those wanting to travel to South Australia can apply online through the SAPOL website. SA Health is reminding local businesses that certain food restrictions still apply under Stage 3 of South Australia's Roadmap to Recovery. Some shared and communal food services are still restricted as the government continues to limit potential health risks surrounding COVID-19. Businesses can't offer a buffet, salad bar or cocktail functions. However, locals can now enjoy a share platter on a table, platter-boards and barbecues. Thousands of regional South Australians will soon benefit from access to upgraded health services closer to home as 20 job-creating projects ramp up throughout the state. It's part of the Marshall government's $15 million regional stimulus package, ensuring patients continue to have access to high-quality healthcare when and where they need it. The funding includes upgrades to site electrical infrastructure, fire systems, hospitals, sterilisation upgrades and new patient call systems. Clare and Kimber are among the list of regional hospitals to receive the upgrades. The Shadow Tourism Minister has touched down in the York Mid-North as part of a regional tour. Zoe Bettison is calling on the state government to offer residents a $200 travel voucher to help reboot the local tourism industry.
South Australia's tourism industry has suffered a crippling blow, but vendors are now welcoming visitors back. One of those is South Australia's Shadow Tourism Minister.
We have our wonderful backyard here in South Australia. They've had it tough, and we need to support our tourism operators.
Zoe Bettison touching down in Port Pirie, learning from our local member what our city has to offer.
Some of which I didn't know about, particularly its linkages with Broken Hill. And I think there's some great opportunities here around the maritime and railway history, but also about the history of the smelter.
Explain to the Shadow Minister that the history of Port Pirie, the opportunities we've got here, and we've got lots and lots of things happening here, but we need to get that information out.
Now, the opposition is calling on the state government to implement a $200 tourism voucher to help kickstart the industry, still hurting from the pandemic's impacts.
To book a service or a product in South Australia in the next 3 months, to tour the regional areas of South Australia.
And all we need to do is to get off our rear ends to be able to make so and promote it. But we need to do that in a coordinated way.
The scheme would work by giving the proposed travel voucher to those who have booked a holiday and spent $200 or more. A similar initiative is in place in the Northern Territory, and the Shadow Minister says it's time for South Australia to follow suit.
In the long weekend in June and this school holidays, people are getting out and about. What we want to do is focus on that for the next 3 months.
The government wouldn't comment on the proposed initiative, but did say its plans are to encourage visitation to areas such as the Yorke Peninsula, and tourism in regional South Australia employs around 16,000 people.
Both sides of politics, both the opposition and the government, need to understand regional South Australia is a great place to be.
When was the last time you went to Port Pirie? When was the last time you went to Port Lincoln? And have you recently been to Clare? Have a think and book that holiday.
Meanwhile, the Premier Stephen Marshall is also in the region today, visiting Streaky Bay and meeting with local businesses. He's expected to be in Port Lincoln tomorrow. Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, a local student called on to contribute to local economic research, and Whyalla City Council celebrates 5 decades of work. Welcome back. The University of South Australia is calling for a local student to join a new Upper Spencer Gulf study focusing on 3 towns in the region. The research is set to find the best pathways for local entrepreneurs to succeed in those cities.
The Iron Triangle unites, but this time for a new University of South Australia study. Conducted by Dr. Catherine McKenzie, the research will work to unveil future local employment advantages.
It seems that local industries are even more important now.
The research will follow the economic climate in Whyalla, Port Augusta and Port Pirie.
There's been a lot of investment from international entrepreneurs, so like Elon Musk and Sanjeev Gupta. Often local options are overlooked, and so we're really looking to highlight some of those.
Local students to be recruited for the research.
A postgraduate degree, so either a master's by research or a PhD, to hopefully a local person.
The Upper Spencer Gulf Cities Committee Chairman welcoming this study and is looking forward to seeing the results.
Research is always good. We can always learn from something that we've found out through a fresh set of eyes. Doing the research to be involved in our community and feed back to our local COTEC, which is our uni hub as well.
Applications will be closing in October.
Know what's going on in the grassroots, and a local person will.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Yorke Mid-North music lovers between the age of 12 to 24 are being encouraged to join a new online program conducted by industry professionals. The free workshops and seminars are aimed at young people eager to develop a career in the music business. Those interested can find more information on the state government website. Whyalla City Council is celebrating a special milestone this week, honouring 50 years of service. Small pop-up events will run throughout the city over the next month, commemorating Council's achievements over the 5 decades.
Servicing locals for 50 years, Whyalla City Council celebrating a special birthday.
For 50 years we've been operating as a council, and we felt it was really important that we celebrate this milestone.
These banners were prepared specifically for the 50 years, to celebrating 50 years, of the Whyalla City Council, and also what happened in 1970 in South Australia in the world.
Starting back in 1970, Whyalla Council replaced the Town Commission, which had been running the city previously. These large banners detailing Council's achievements on display throughout the city over the coming months.
These exhibition banners are on display at the Civic Building and also at the City Library. So they are, quite large, you can't miss them.
The Mayor proud to be representing the city.
A lot of fantastic achievements from this council over the last 50 years. during this term. I think one of our big achievements is obviously the fantastic new jetty down on the foreshore.
As part of the celebrations, Whyalla City Council will be holding small exhibitions throughout the city over the next month, with one being a pop-up museum here at the Westlands Shopping Centre starting Monday.
We're encouraging people of Whyalla to send in their photos from the last 50 years, perhaps to do with the council or just generally to do with our community. And they can do that through our website.
The photos will be displayed at the temporary museum. Sophia Contigonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Broken Hill men hit the pavement, raising thousands of dollars while they're at it. And children experiencing traumatic events to receive a special kind of support. Hello again. A group of Central Broken Hill football players have completed a huge run in an effort to raise awareness for men's mental health. From Silverton to Broken Hill, the team helped raise thousands of dollars in the memory of a lost teammate.
25 kilometres, one massive effort, all for a very important cause. A bunch of Central footy players continuing to promote the importance of men's mental health. Jordan Gilby coming up with the idea to run from Silverton to Broken Hill, not imagining the response he'd receive.
In my head, basically saw that my girlfriend was just going to drop me out there, raise a couple of $100 and, that would be it. But it's just snowballed.
Instead of hundreds, $17,000 was raised for Lifeline Broken Hill.
Every kilometre was like a year in your life, and we have our times where we struggle, and then there's times where we're feeling good, and then there's times where we get to a point where we think it's time to give up. So it was about helping each other get across the line.
The team left Silverton on Saturday morning with a convoy of supporters in tow. Through all 39 dips past the wind farm, at one time running alongside wild horses, the squad stuck together. The senior coach saying in a footy club talking about mental health and helping one another is vital.
I hope this can increase the awareness of the importance of it. And I think, as that senior coach, I've got to play that role of making sure that I check in with them as much as I possibly can.
At the finish line, a number were overcome with emotion. The run done in memory of close friend Baden Quinn, who died by suicide in January.
He'd be up there watching us and the efforts we raised today and the effort that Gilbs has actually put in. He's very pleased of what he's done.
It won't bring our friend back, but hopefully it will make someone think twice, and just have a second thought maybe next time.
If you or someone you know needs support, contact Lifeline on 13 11 14. Patrick Ryankey, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The first Defence veteran to make use of the Peninsula's new Respite program has touched down in Port Lincoln. The new initiative aims to provide veterans and their families an escape from the stress of day-to-day life by visiting holiday locations.
The quiet, picturesque and still waters of Port Lincoln making the perfect escape for Defence veteran Neil Goldings and his partner.
It's been absolutely fantastic. The place itself is absolutely beautiful and the people here have just been amazing.
Neil and Michelle are the first to visit Port Lincoln as part of the newly established Land, Sea and Air Road to Recovery program, an initiative which also operates out of Rope to provide respite for veterans.
Some small way to be able to help the devastating problem of damage to veterans and a very high suicide rate in veterans.
From 2001 to 2017, there were more than 400 suicides in serving, reserve and ex-Australian Defence personnel across the country. Neil served in the Army for 23 years. He was deployed to the Solomon Islands, Afghanistan and served 2 tours in East Timor, where he experienced the worst of humanity.
Just joining the military changed me as a person initially. Obviously some of my experiences that I've had overseas, abroad, have changed me even further.
Neil medically retired in 2016, but the stress and anxiety of the past still live with him day to day. The recovery program aims to give veterans like Neil an escape to holiday locations with complimentary accommodation, food vouchers and tailor-made activities like fishing.
Some peaceful time with a loved one is what we're offering.
Programs like this, I think it's just truly amazing that there are people out there now that want to help.
The charm of the West Coast already rubbing off on the couple, Neil proposing to long-term partner Michelle on Port Lincoln's jetty on Saturday.
I did, of course, say yes.
The first test of the program already passing with flying colours, with more veterans expected to flood in. Nathan Rector, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Boxes of teddy bears have been passed on to the Whyalla Police by the Mount Laura Lions Club as part of a national initiative to support children experiencing distressing situations. Operation Teddy Bear, which has helped more than 60,000 children over the last 30 years, will now work to also support those in Whyalla.
It's a small gesture which can help a child in crisis in a big way.
The children that we deal with, for them it can be one of the worst days of their life because of the circumstances that we have dealings with them.
The Mount Laura Lions Club handing over boxes of teddy bears to the Whyalla Police. It's part of a national initiative which began in Victoria. This Whyalla club raised more than $1,000 this year for the cause, with the aim to bring Operation Teddy Bear to the Steel City.
I think giving the teddy bear to a child that's suffering one of the worst days of their life can take the edge off it and make it less traumatic.
This is the first year we've done it. It's been an initiative of Lions for the last 30 years.
With the first year already proving successful, the club hope to continue this initiative for years to come.
And we thought it was a good initiative. We should take up a chance to do that for the children of Whyalla.
The teddy bears sit in the back seat of police officers' cars and will be passed on to anxious children whose homes have been burglarised or dramatically affected by violence, trauma or bad experiences.
I can think of many children over the years that if I had one with me, I could have made their day less traumatic.
The Mount Laura Lions Club encourage locals to help donate to the cause. Every $10 raised will go towards purchasing a teddy bear, a small price in making a child smile.
We all have children, we all have grandkids, and if they're put through trauma, it's very stressful for them. So we thought this was a great idea and a great initiative.
How's that for a perfect little bear?
Sophia Contigonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Britt will join us with the weather. Welcome back. Now let's take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Britt.
Thanks, Louise, and good evening. 0 degrees was the low at Port Pirie and Whyalla this morning, but despite a chilly start to the day, we did see fine and mostly sunny conditions later on. A high of 16 was recorded at Port Augusta and Woodner today. Port Pirie reached 15. Whyalla, Port Lincoln, Kadina, Cleve and Coffin Bay all 14. We saw a top of 12 degrees at Broken Hill and 11 at Clare. Skies remained mostly clear under a high, but we saw a little bit of cloud about coastal areas. Moving on now to tomorrow, and we will start with the Gulf waters. Northeasterly winds at 5 to 10 knots, becoming variable about the late afternoon and evening. Seas below 1 metre. Swells south to southwesterly, increasing to 1.5 metres. And now let's see what Wednesday looks like near you. A sunny day on the way for Port Lincoln, looking at a high of 15 degrees. The same at Clare, Woodner, sunny and 17. Another chilly night for Whyalla with an overnight low of 1 degree. Early frost ahead of a mostly sunny day with a high of 16. Port Augusta with a low of 0, 17 the top though. Frost and fog in the morning, but then mostly sunny later on. Kadina partly cloudy with a high of 14 tomorrow. A low of 1 degree at Port Pirie, light morning frost, but then mostly sunny with a top of 15. Partly cloudy at Clare, 12. Broken Hill, fine and partly cloudy with a high of 14 degrees. Moving on to Thursday now, with sunny skies expected about the Flinders and Mid-North forecast districts. Fine and partly cloudy elsewhere. Port Augusta with a high of 19. Woodner and Whyalla both 18. Broken Hill and Port Pirie both 17 degrees. Port Lincoln with a top of 16. Kadina 15. Friday, showers forecast over the Spencer Gulf region, remaining dry at Broken Hill with partly cloudy conditions expected. Maximum temperatures sitting in the mid to late teens. And finally to Saturday, with similar conditions to Friday, showers about the region with Broken Hill remaining dry, highs between 14 and 17 degrees. And Louise, that is the weather forecast. Let's make the most of those dry days before the showers at the end of the week.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that, Britt. And that wraps up your local news for this Tuesday evening. Thank you for joining us. We'll have updates later. Until then, have a lovely and safe evening. Good night.